Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Well, Ram Tah has indeed been a busy bee, hasn't he? His anti-Guardian Zone Resistance mod that was once for weapons is now being extended to all Guardian modifications, or modules, shall we say. But are they worth the materials? We know that it's going to be worth hardened surface fragments, caustic crystals, and indeed tactical chips. But is making the modifications to these Guardian mods worthwhile? Well, we're going to get ourselves over to Phoenix Base, treat with Ram Tah and see what it's all about. That's right, Commanders, Ram Tah has indeed done it again. His anti-Guardian Zone Resistance has extended past the weapon Guardian modules with their slightly reduced damage. He's got rid of that reduced damage. They do full damage now, and he's extended that anti-Guardian Zone Resistance effect to all modules. How cool is that? Now for this, I've gone and got myself a Python Mark II. You can see I've got it fitted out with 4 Class 3 shard cannons. Good stuff. And they've got that anti-Guardian Zone effect stitched right on it. Anti-Guardian Zone Resistance. Now these are going to be able to throw an awful lot of damage down, and as you can see, the damage negative that was applied has been removed. I've also got a beam laser overcharged weapon with thermal vent. I know a lot of people do tend to go for long range, and I flip-flop between the two. To make it viable, I've got the nanite torpedo launcher in there. I've got my caustic sinks that have all been tricked up with extra ammo and heat sink launchers as well, and also the Thargoid pulse wave neutralizer. Now, the Guardian hybrid power plant. Here's my problem with this on this particular build. It's going to generate an awful lot of heat, right? And you don't necessarily need it, to be perfectly honest with you, nor the Guardian hybrid power distributor. That also generates an awful lot of heat, but they are now available to have the anti-Guardian Zone Resistance modification attached to them, and that's cool. I've got a bi-weave shield generator on there. I haven't done anything to it, but I could put low power on this. But what I think is important is the Guardian hull and Guardian module reinforcement packages, and if you run shields, the Guardian shield reinforcement. These are the things I think that this anti-Guardian Zone Resistance modification from Ram Tah is going to be absolutely cherry for. I've also got an AFMU in there for when things go horribly wrong and I got to start repairing things. Another module I think is going to be very good, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, is the frameshift drive booster. The Guardian frameshift drive booster. Oh my god, I have been praying for a modification to make it impervious to the anti-Thargoid caustic damage for years. Anyway, I've got my fire group set up like this. Shard cannons, my typical sort of configuration as a Titan bomber. That's how I've got it done. Whether you put your shards cannons on one with a trigger pull, or you want it for a thumb press like on my X52 Saytech hot ass joystick, it's completely up to the particular commander. I've got my pulse wave neutralizer and caustic sinks then bound to another fire group. Now whether you go in there with a crate, you go in there with a Python Mark I, you go in there with a Challenger, you go with a bigger ship like the Anaconda or the Cutter, or, my god, even like me with the Fer-de-Lance. These modifications do work really well. However, would I have the Guardian power plant and the Guardian power distributor on this ship? No, I really wouldn't. It's the heat. Heat is the problem. If you're Titan bombing, then heat is not going to be your friend. If you're shooting other Thargoids like the Interceptors, then hey, why not use it for your Guardian power distributor and your Guardian power plant and all the other Guardian whizzy stuff. One thing to mention that is not being able to be modified in this though, and that is going to be pre-engineered Guardian modules. You cannot modify them. We're going to say yet, but you can see here they're legacy modules. You can, however, do everything else, with the exception of, at the moment, Guardian fighters. Nope, you cannot modify these. But what you can do is you can pin this blueprint. You can pin the anti-Guardian Zone Resistance blueprint, and it allows you to then modify all your Guardian modules from a remote area. Now, there's no additional experimental effect on this, so you haven't got to worry about that. There is a downside though. Old Ram Tah is the man who is going to be able to allow you to engineer your heat sinks and your caustic sinks. So my advice to you is make sure you engineer all the caustic sinks and heat sinks that you need to engineer, for example, for extra ammo, because we know that's probably the best modification, before you pin this blueprint. Or you'll find yourself going back and forth to mean like a little bit of a blue-assed fly. So here's my Ram Tah things to remember. Not everything that can be engineered should be engineered, or used for that matter, at least not yet in-game. And Guardian modules, as great as they are, and for their benefits, there are also drawbacks. Heat and the fact you can't engineer them past the anti-Thargoid Guardian zone resistance thing that Ram Tah has currently thrown on them. Yes, the weapons can give you an awful lot of damage, but they are costly for reloads, so just be aware when going in as a Titan bomber, or in fact, into the AX conflict zones. Right then, enough fluffing about. What have I done with this build? Everything is the same as what you've seen. I have got traditional hull and module reinforcements on there, simply because power, right? Power is not your friend on these cold builds. I've taken out the Guardian power distributor and Guardian power plant, running way too hot, really hot, and I've put in my original ones. Say original ones here of what I've done. Power plant, modifications, low emissions, got it tricked up, got it monstered. And you can see the power at the bottom down here. I'm squeaking near the edge. Okay, all the way down here. Sensors, meh. Right, okay, power distributor. There you go, charge enhanced, flow control. Lovely. That's what we want. Now, if I put a Guardian one on there, incidentally, that would perhaps give me a little bit more power. Alright, but I'd have to go and get one. That might be a problem, but it's also going to give me more heat as well. So we're going with what we know. This gives obscene damage to the core. I mean, 12, 14 million core damage from these shard cannons. Got the shard cannons in place, got the nanite torpedoes, got, as you can see, the anti-Guardian zone resistance tricked up on all of these. But if we go to the optional internals, as you can see, as I mentioned, hull reinforcements, all standard, module reinforcements. Yeah. Again, if I put a Guardian one in there, that's going to use power, that's going to hurt me down in the power section. So sometimes it's not viable, and like I say, just because you can, should you? Let's get this into the Titan, and I'll show you what sort of damage it does. Now this is Titan Indra, okay, and that sort of like was being attacked 7th of the 7th 2024 in game. So what we're doing here is right as of in game, as of basically July 2024. Now Frontier have been loving to tinker recently, so this may change. That's the caveat. I am getting anything between 6 and 12 million damage with these shard cannons against the Titan core. It's a bit hit and miss depending on how I fly and, you know, how I'm feeling and how it goes and how many Thargoids are also in the area. That's all my excuses out of the way. Let's do an attack run. I'll show you what I mean. Right, okay, we're in position. We're cooling ourselves down with our beam laser thermal vent. He's about to go and give the beef. We know he is. Right, we've got our nanite torpedoes all tuned up and ready. Just keeping the temperature down a little bit. I'm getting myself to the right orientation. Here we go. Vents exposed. Torpedoes away. 1. Here we go. We're boosting. So, of course, we're gaining heat here as well. All our commanders sort of like do invoke the heat sinks. I don't bother. Let's get cracking. So that's the second one down. Going in for number 3, I'm inverting. That's where my torpedo is. Again, as soon as I fire off the shot, I'm on to the next one. I'm not hanging around to see if it holds true. There goes another one. Up to the next vent. Pew. It's off. And another vent. Of course, this is going to be easier if you're in a squad. But this is me in solo, just doing my thing with this build. This is what I wanted to show. Right. Heat vents disrupted. Brilliant. We should really swing around and get round to the other side. I'm going to zip around, I'm going to transfer my power from engines into the guns, or into the shard cannons. I'm going to get really nice and close. Now, the closer you get to this, the more heat damage you're going to get. Right, I'm now in range. Power to the weapons. Let's hit it with the shards. There you go. The shards are laying the damage down. Now, a lot of commanders have done better than me at this. I've had it on stream that I did indeed get 12 million damage. It was fantastic. I'm coming up here with a pretty decent run, going it down to like 66%. A lot of commanders have done a lot better than me, don't get me wrong. And this is going to be worth about 6 point whatever million credits in combat bonds, which is not too shabby, just for me. 6.3 million, not too bad. So, in closing, what are we saying about these Guardian weapons, Guardian modules? Yes, we now have the option for Guardian weapons and Guardian modules to be engineered so they don't rot. Brilliant, good for you, Ram Tah. Should you Guardian engineer everything for Titan bombing? No. Should you Guardian engineer things for other Thargoid endeavours, like AX combat zones? You may want to, they're a good viable option. Are power plants and power distributors good for Titan attacks? I would say no. Module reinforcements? I would say yes if you've got the power, but power is not going to be your friend. Anyway, I've been Ricardo. This is what I thought about Guardian modules and their tuning with Ram Tah, with his lovely anti-Guardian zone resistance modification. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've got a better build, I'd love to see it. See you soon.